5 more minutes. What is the point in 250 persons who under a very organized program were pelting the stones that you decided to release them? You do not have the mindset to enforce the rule of law. They say we have got a law, or Kashmir has got a Ranjit Penal Code. Anybody is guilty, the rule of law will prevail. If you think civil disobedience, or it's not a civil disobedience, if you think that armed violent uprising by inciting some youth or paying them can change the government's policies, it won't. You have got to send the signal loud and clear. Then let me tell about the Kashmiri separatist mindset, because they are the third actors. They have got a mindset that international opinion is in their favor. Again, as I said, it is not true. Again, as I said, that these mindsets have got no relationship with the reality. But it doesn't change. They think there is a UN resolution. In United Nations, all the countries had always supported Pakistan's plebiscite, except veto being exercised by the USSR in favor of India in the past. Now even India-Russia relations are not that close, and USSR does not exist. China, as a permanent member of the Security Council, is on their side. And then there are 57 OIC countries or the Islamic countries. So the international opinion is totally on the side of the separatists. It's only a matter of time to stick to it. Now that is how their mindset works. It doesn't change. That India's international crowd will very heavily weigh that whatever your calculations are, that no point has been taken either on Kashmir, either in the UN Security Council or the General Assembly. Of course, in the General Assembly is one annual thing. Your Prime Minister or Foreign Minister will go and shout about it, but that's where it stops. You have not been even getting the support of the OIC countries. But it sticks. The second is a faith in the capability and intentions of Pakistan to help them. Pakistan neither had the capability to liberate Kashmir, neither it has got the intentions. It has got its own geopolitical and geostrategic intentions. It is no well-wisher of the Kashmiri people, including the Kashmiri Muslims. Of course, they have got no love lost for the Kashmiri Hindus or people of Jammu and Ladakh. But the Kashmiri separatists think, ISI can do everything. Probably Kashmiri army can be able to liberate us someday. And the third point of mindset is that there is a dividend in continuing this bogey of separatism. Kashmiris can, or the people in Kashmir can extract maximum concessions from the government of India. If this bogey is alive, if it was not alive, it will be forgotten as one a state like Arunachal Pradesh and others where nobody is bothered where in India it lies. You have the street demonstration, you have got 100 crore rupees given for schools and the infrastructure of the libraries and school construction of buildings and renovation of buildings. Probably no other state will get that sort of money for school buildings and libraries as a total grant. And then the huge expenditure, developmental expenditure and concessions that have been given. This interest is not only with the separatists, even the political players who have been enjoying power. What do they want? When they say autonomy and others, basically they show you the fear of the separatists, of the terrorists, and say if you don't give it to us, they are going to extract, but if you give it to us, they are going to do nothing to stop them. It may be Mahbooba Mufti or now it may be with the National Congress. They are not going to provide you any cover. No one raised any this thing when this civil disobedience came to come at the Lal Chowk and say that we are integral part of India and we are going to take a counter position. The political parties which had enjoyed the power, where is their mass base, where are their cadres? Where did they disappear? And in the autonomy, what do they want? It is the empowerment of those people who have enjoyed the power. Let us give a freedom from Supreme Court so that if we loot and scoot, nobody can ask us from the Auditor and Accountant General of India's control, so that there can be no auditing. You give us the money, forget about it. Don't ask us what we have done about it. But we don't ask in any case, even today. The jurisdiction of the CBI doesn't lie over there. But at least an auditing part is done. Because there is an Advocate and Auditor General. We should be free of the RBI in case they still are. They've got a J&K bank and they can have any arrangement with the J&K bank, and the state government can do any number of overdrafting, and the Reserve Bank is bound by a certain amount of logistics to compensate the J&K bank, and a large number of bugglings and corruptions take place through the J&K bank. So this is the Kashmiri, particularly people in the valley, or the present people in the valley, their mindset. Now, imagine a situation. India changes its mindset. Develops a mindset of a real power player. Acquires power, acquires capabilities, and exercises its power. The problem completely changes. The separatists cannot take that agenda. Pakistan, which is a falling state, a degraded state, failing probably any day, has got no economy to sustain, cannot undertake this thing against India. India can make a very, very heavy this thing of it at its own timing and choosing, and in its own way. Pakistan changes its mindset and believes that, well, this is something which is unattainable. Indian army or Indian establishment is not something that they can take on, and Islam does not give them all that motivating factor which they think it does, and the Indian Muslims are totally patriotic Indians, and they are not with Pakistan. Or the Kashmiri separatists change their mindset and say, we are integral part of India, we have nothing to do with Pakistan, or the Islamic terrorists, and we are going to remain this thing, and we are going to have the equal rights as any other state. So any of this thing changes their mindset, this solution comes, and that is where the remedy comes. Now, I would like to briefly tell about the current situation. Firstly, there are a lot of myths about the current situation. It is not the first time it is happening. It has happened many times in the past. It has happened when there was an Hazrat Baldev Singh. It was there after the Bangad elections of the 1984. There was this thing in 89 and 90. And then there had been from time to time. Don't overreact. Don't give in. Don't follow appeasement. It will pass off. It looks big when it's the midst of it. They cannot sustain it beyond a point. And even if they do, there's a price that they have to pay. Second myth which is made by sometimes the media and others, that it is a spontaneous uprising of the civil society. It is not. It is a very well orchestrated, planned, financed, rehearsed, planned by the ISI, in which people like Masarrat Alam and Aisha Indrabi and sections of Gilani's group, also some of them weren't there initially, others joined hands and they had the places, they collected the stones, got them into the vehicles, and now we have got, part of it has been made public, the series of interceptions, the talks which are being held, and the instructions coming from Pakistan, where to throw the stones, where to collect the people, what does they do, and the constant this thing by the mosques the previous evening, that where the people are supposed to collect, where the stones will be available, this thing, on the previous night. So it is a very well orchestrated, it's only a change in tactics. From sabotage and terrorism, you are going to use the civil society, thinking that might give them that advantage which they had, otherwise they didn't have it. There is also a myth that it is peaceful because no guns are used. Let me tell you the definition of peace, and peace is not whether the guns are used. The type of the stones that they were used and the type of the damage that they can do probably was totally murderous. They were murderous attacks. They were used to cause harm to the extent that they could cause death. And therefore, the police and security forces were totally justified in using the force that they did. There is no point in coming on the defensive. Of course, indiscriminate use of force against the innocents must be controlled, and we do require systems and methods and laws, and in case people are deliberately guilty of that, they have got to be punished. But don't restrain the Indian security forces under the pressure of that. It will be a big mistake. It might give a short-term advantage for 3 months or 4 months, and people might be able to save Umar Abdullah's government because Rahul Gandhi has come in favor, or Congress party is a coalition partner, but it might be a strategic blunder to undermine the rule of law and the constitutional provisions of this country just to save an individual or a hierarchy or a particular family. Now what should be done? What should be the remedies? Reiteration of India's position in unequivocal terms, which the government is reluctant to do, telling that the parliamentary resolution of 1994, which was unanimous and all-party resolution, is reiterated, again passed by the parliament. That is the only unfinished agenda of Kashmir dispute, is taking back the remaining portion. That's all. There is nothing else that needs to be settled. As far as the problems of people and the government's relationship with that concern, it's an ongoing process. It's not only in Kashmir, it's every part of the country. And this generation has got this set of problems. Their government will find their solutions. The next generation's problems will be solved by the next government. It's a continuing thing, and particularly in a democracy. But there is no political status or political question to be this thing. Second, make Kashmiri Pandits as the central point of all negotiations and talks that you hold with them. If Pakistan could have its proxy on the table and they say that there's got to be a 3-point settlement, and Pakistan is able to put all its arguments through the mouth of Gilani, and India has got no one there, including its political leaders, as part of the negotiations, but even if it is, they will be speaking more what Pakistan wants to speak them than what India would be speaking them. They talk about separate currency, they talk about direct route, a common assembly and overriding this thing formulas,